2 is a reading by Herschel Matt. His son, Danny Matt, was a professor in the Bay Area who spent 18 years, 6 days a week, translating the Zohar that was published by Stanford. Among his many writings that Danny Matt has composed is a biography of his father, Herschel. We now read the words of Herschel together to seek renewal. On this night, O God, we have come into your house
to pray in your sanctuary. But if the heavens are merely your throne, if the earth is but your footstool, the heaven of heavens cannot contain you. How much less this house, built by mere human hands? Yet although your dwelling place is every place, and although you can be sought and found in any place, it is to this place that we must come in your purifying presence.
So our service tonight is actually quite short. It's like a Friday night service, but without Kabbalat Shabbat, the introductory prayers. Meaning if we just davened right through it, if Hal just did the prayers, we'd be out in a half hour. And a lot of you have driven longer than that to get here. So therefore, I feel I have a little bit more permission to I was going to say to entertain you, but to share some thoughts with you. So I want to do that at the beginning, before we rise for the Baruch Hu, knowing that there'll be some stragglers still coming in. Tonight is my 32nd year of leading High Holiday services at Congregation B'nai Israel. Yeah, thank you. So that means it's 31 years because Linda and I arrived on August 8th, 1988, which is to say, for some of you who are the early members of B'nai Israel, work back 31 years to how old you were when we started and how many sermons you have heard in the course of those years. The first rabbi who guided me was Rabbi Bob Bergman. Rabbi Reuven Bergman of Israel Academy had been a rabbi for Congregation B'nai Israel. And I remember the first funeral I did was for Rabbi Kalir, and it was Rabbi Bergman who kind of showed me the way. And he made a very big impression on me in those years where I was learning. And one of the things he said to me is, I always wear a white suit on Rosh Hashanah. Because Rosh Hashanah, it's anticipating Yom Kippur when you're wearing a kittel, where you're wearing a white garment. But Rosh Hashanah, he said, I always wear a white suit. And since he was my mentor, I went to look for a white suit, which are hard to find. And I found them at a place that's now out of business in New York. It was a great clothing store. And I've been wearing this same suit for over 30 years. So many people have complimented me tonight on how nice the suit looks. And it's because it's so nice in terms of, normally I don't want to wear a white suit, that I really only wear it on Rosh Hashanah for 30 years. And I wasn't sure when I went to put it on tonight how it was going to fit. And I was so pleased that it fits. Though somebody asked 30 years, the truth is it's been let out once. And Linda was commenting that's because we've had 3 children and sympathetic pains and growth required that. So as I was getting ready tonight for services and thinking about my white suit, I free associated to Mark Twain because I had the privilege to hear Hal Holbrook. I don't know if anybody here ever heard Hal Holbrook. There's a few hands going up who did. Carl, Linda, look how many people. Do you know Hal Holbrook? He started doing this one-man play honoring Mark Twain. He learned something like 18 hours of material, and he'd do an hour and a half, and he would be in the moment role-playing in his white suit, and he'd be Mark Twain. He did 2,200 shows in the course of well over, his first show was in 1954. So in close to 60 years, he did that show. He's still in movies, Hal Holbrook, now in his 90s, but he's not doing the Mark Twain any longer. So my teaching, my Devar Torah, will begin inspired by Hal Holbrook, looking at newspapers and talking about how I chose the sermons I chose this year. But I thought a place that I would begin is a short reading from Mark Twain. Many of you may not know this book, but you may know that Mark Twain wrote an essay on Jews. And he wrote this essay living in Vienna, in Austria. And he wrote it in 1898. So 120 years ago. And he wrote this essay called Concerning the Jews. It was printed in Harper's Magazine in response to a letter he received from a lawyer in America. There had been rioting in Vienna. This is just after the Dreyfus case. It's the year after the first Zionist conference in Basel. It's only a few months after the first conference in Basel, the Zionist conference. And this lawyer in America wanted to know, why is it that people are rioting against the Jews in Austria, in France? What is it about the Jews that people don't like the Jews? And I want to read this in part because as we begin a new year and as we look out, knowing that tomorrow it'll be pretty full going toward the back, we're celebrating tonight that we're still here as Jews. Everyone who's here can look around and feel that sense of belonging and the mystery of our being part of a Jewish community, whether born as Jews, having been adopted into the Jewish people, with our families that are identified as Jews. And so here's some thoughts from Mark Twain, who sought to answer, why is there anti-Semitism? What can be done to improve the situation? And will prejudice ever end? Interestingly, Mark Twain felt that the Jews were a source of tension, not because of their religion alone, or even primarily. He said that even in the time of the Romans, an early writing that he came across of a Christian who was being tormented, they said, "Oh, you're not a Jew." And then they let him go. He said even in the Roman Empire, before Christianity, somehow there was a source of tension with Jews. But remarkably, what Mark Twain sees as the main reason that the Jews are a source of tension is because they are so financially successful. And he feels that that is the motivation and not other things. He says of the Jews, the Jew is not a disturber of the peace of any country. Even his enemies will concede that. In the statistics of crime, the Jew's presence is conspicuously rare in all countries. The Jew is not a burden on the charities of the state nor of the city. They take care of their own people. His race is entitled to be called the most benevolent of all the races of men. He is quiet, peaceable, industrious, unaddicted to high crimes and brutal dispositions, that his family life is commendable, that he is not a burden upon public charities, that he is not a beggar, that in benevolence he is above the reach of competition. These are the very quintessentials of good citizenship. He does write something that I found pretty odd. Speaking of concentration, Dr. Herzl has a clear insight into the value of that. Have you heard of Herzl's plan? He wishes to gather the Jews of the world together in Palestine with a government of their own under the suzerainty of the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. At the convention of Bern last year, there were delegates from everywhere, and the proposal was received with decided favor. I am not the Sultan, and I am not objecting. But if the concentration of the cunningest brains in the world was going to be made in a free country, bar Scotland, I think it would be politic to stop it. It will not be well to let that race find out its strength. If the horses knew theirs, we should not ride anymore. Will the persecution of the Jews ever come to an end? And then he writes this. Here's something else that's a little disturbing. In Berlin a few years ago, I read a speech which frankly urged the expulsion of the Jews from Germany. And the agitator's reason was as frank as his proposition. It was this, that 85%, mind you, again, this is written in 1898. It was this, that 85% of the successful lawyers of Berlin were Jews, and that above the same percentage of the great and lucrative businesses of all sorts in Germany were in the hands of the Jewish race. Isn't it an amazing confession? It was but another way of saying that in a population of over 48 million, of whom only 500,000 were registered as Jews, 85% of the brains and honesty of the whole was lodged in the Jews. I must insist upon the honesty. It is an essential of successful business, taken by and large. Of course, it does not rule out rascals entirely, even among Christians, but it is a good working rule nevertheless. The speaker's figures may have been inexact, but the motive of persecution stands out as clear as day. Well, the closing paragraph. If the statistics are right, the Jews constitute but less than 1% of the human race. It suggests a nebulous, dim puff of stardust lost in the blaze of the Milky Way. Properly, the Jew ought hardly to be heard of, but he is heard of, has always been heard of. He is as prominent on the planet as any other people, and his commercial importance is extravagantly out of proportion to the smallness of his bulk. His contributions to the world's list of great names in literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine, and abstruse learning are also away out of proportion to the weakness of his numbers. He has made a marvelous fight in this world in all ages and has done it with his hands tied behind him. He could be vain of himself and be excused for it. The Egyptians, the Babylonian, and the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other peoples have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burned out, and they sit in twilight now or have vanished. The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jews. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? And so he ends. He could not have imagined, writing in 1898, or maybe he could, the Holocaust and the rise of the State of Israel and the rise of the power of Jews in the American world. So much has changed, and yet we're here. I will talk throughout the Rosh Hashanah about this booklet that I wrote that I hope you will agree to take. In it, I quote a historian, Yuval Harari from Hebrew University, who says that Jews too need to be humble. He said, for Jews to take credit, for instance, of psychotherapy is celebrate a new year. The Baruch Hu. Page 5.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed.
You may be seated as we read page 5 together. Baruch Atah Adonai, our God, ruler of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night, Adonai Tzvaot, your name, living and ever-present God, may your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch Atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk.
Umavir yom, umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uben laila, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, El Chai v'Kayam, Tamidim Lochalenu Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah
Page 6.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Avta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu V'shachbeinu v'kumeinu Nasiach b'checha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki em chayenu v'orech yameinu V'orech yameinu Uvahem negeh yomam v'layla V'ahavatecha al tasim mimenu yolamim Baruch atah Ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'otecha Ve'hayu ha'dvarim ha'ele
Asher Anochi Mitzavecha
Hayom
Al Levavecha V'shinantam Levanecha V'dibarta Bam
B'shivtecha
B'veitecha Uvlechtecha Vaderech Uvshachbecha Uvkumecha Ukshartam Leota Yadecha Ve'hayu Letotafot Beinecha Uchtavtam Al Mezuzot Beitecha Uvisharecha. Page 7. Vayam Shmot Yishma'u.
Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Emily goes over here.
Umalchuto b'ratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe Miriam u'bnei Yisrael lechanu shira v'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam Mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh norati lo Malchutecha ra'u banecha bokayam lifnei Moshe Ze'eli anu ve'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed V'nemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov Uyalo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Amen. Top of page 9 in English together. Allow us, Adonai our God, to sleep peacefully and to waken again to life, our sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us, remove from us enemies and pestilence, scourge, starvation, and sorrow, and remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us, and you are the sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace now and forever. May you spread over us the canopy of your peace. Baruch atah Adonai, and over all the people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Aporei sukat shalom, aleinu, V'al kol amo Yisrael, V'al Yerushalayim.
Amen. Page 10.
Ikhu v'chodesh shofar, b'kesed leyom chagenu, ki chok liYisrael hu, mishpat leElohei Yaakov. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'omad yivrach hirutei, ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon, uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalav v'zman kariv, ve'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'olam u'olam maya, Yitbarach v'yishabach, v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalav shmei dekudesha, richu le'elah, le'elah, mikol b'chata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, damiran v'yama v'imru, Amen.
We rise, pages 11 to 17 privately.
Ose shalom bimromav uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Ose shalom bimromav uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen.
Page 19.
Yitkadav yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'omad divra kirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, Magalo vizman kari ve'imru.
Amen.
Yehi shmei rabba mevarach, ve'olam ulo me'yomaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekutsha. Le'ela mikol berchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechamata. Titkabal sloton varahon de kol Yisrael kodam avahon vishamaya ve'imru. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Ose shalom bimromav huyase shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael ve'imru.
Back to Mark Twain, who wore a white suit even after Labor Day. He said, "Clothes make the man. Naked people have very little influence, if any, over society." He also said, he died in 1910, he also said that if you don't read newspapers, you are uninformed. And if you read them, you are misinformed. And in that Hal Holbrook presentation, what endured for me, and I haven't had a chance to do this all these years, is use the newspapers as the text. That's what Mark Twain would do. He would take the news of the day, the newspaper of the day, and that would be the beginning of what he would share. So these days, I don't get a newspaper anymore. I had to go to Barnes & Noble to get these today. We read electronically. But I did find it fascinating. So I share these in part to focus on what has been on my mind, which is, what am I going to speak about at High Holidays? Now, I give approximately 100 sermons a year. That's every Friday and Saturday that I'm here, which is almost always. But High Holidays are a whole different kind of teaching. Rather than being a Torah reading as the text is the community and where the community's at. So I've been asking for the last month or longer, congregants, what would you speak about? What do you think the congregation needs to hear about? And I'll mention some of those, but this is this morning's Orange County Register. And the lead story is security increases for high holidays. We're in the news, except not exactly. In this long article, which goes on to page 14 with a big picture, whole page, right? The whole top half of the page. Not one Orange County rabbi is quoted. The rabbis who are quoted are from Riverside, but this is an opportunity to introduce, as many of us already know, Cantor Bob Sorotnick and his wife Barbara, who just celebrated, Linda and I had the privilege to be there, celebrating the completion of 50 years as a cantor. Most of those in Riverside, and this was the synagogue in Riverside and the rabbi in Riverside. The Deepa Bharat is the religion writer for the Register. I've met her. She's Hindu and lives in Riverside. So security is the number one issue. And indeed, for us as a congregation, this could be a topic. Many of you met, if you've come during the week, have met Fernando, our guard, as of the last month, who wears a gun. That's a new phase in the life of Congregation B'nai Israel. Security. But it's not just, of course, our synagogue. Though it's in this last year that Tree of Life Synagogue of Pittsburgh, a synagogue many of us had never heard of before, now know by name, or the Chabad in Poway, 2 mass slayings, the one in Pittsburgh, the largest massacre of Jews in American history in this last year. But this is as much a problem of violence in America. Do you know that in America, a woman is 21 times as likely to be shot than on average in the 87 richest countries of the UN? We are a nation of violence. You can go to a country western concert in Las Vegas. You can go to a Walmart and shop. There is no place that's safe. You can go to a African American church in Charleston or a mosque. It's not just about anti-Semitism. It's about violence in America. And that's not a speech I'm going to give, though I did give that on a Saturday morning. You can find it online. The illness of America in terms of violence and some of the reasons for that. Here, too, is another article. It's the other big article on the front page of the Register. And it's about what do you do with nuclear waste. In some ways, though, it's a bit of a stretch. It's another engagement with how do we use the earth? How do we bury things in the earth? This topic of climate change, we live in a time in which it used to be that if you wanted to avoid politics, you would talk about nature and talk about the outdoors. Today, nature and the outdoors has become a hot political topic. There's almost no topic a rabbi can touch today that is not considered to be political. It's really quite remarkable. If I was to give a speech on what I think is the greatest threat to the planet as an act of love, if I was to give a sermon on what are my duties for my grandchildren, it would be about climate change. And the children who've taken to the streets in the last 2 years, but particularly the last month, are a challenge to all of us. But that's not the sermon I'm going to give. And in part, I'm not going to give it because I actually mentioned I might give it, and it created an uproar among some people that I was going to be political. And I decided, look, I'm not going to convince anybody who doesn't believe in climate change. And those who do believe in it, so that's not why you come to Shul, to hear me talk about what you already believe in. So climate change is powerfully important, but that won't be my sermon. Now, I did watch the news programs this morning, and of course, impeachment is a big topic. Our Orange County Register this morning has an article on the last page on impeachment. It's an abbreviated piece from the Associated Press. That's all in this morning's Register. I don't know what that says about us, but... Now, if you want a different kind of the New York Post, a Robert Murdoch paper, impeachment, and how the threat of impeachment has been good for President Trump's coffers in terms of increased donations. That's the big story. Again, depends on what you choose to read. Of course, the LA Times gives it front billing, but I will not be talking about impeachment either. I will not talk about impeachment, although I must admit I am a news junkie. There's a lot that would be fun to talk about, but that's not why we're here, per se. We're here on Rosh Hashanah to talk about ourselves. My teacher, Rabbi Jack Reamer, says, in the audience, I don't have any congressmen or senators. I have voters, moral people pursuing, but what I will look to share throughout Rosh Hashanah is tied to a story of the rabbi named Israel Lipkin Salanter. At least it's attributed to him, though if you actually Google it, it's attributed to others as well. He said as follows, "When I was young, I thought I would change the world. I addressed the big issues, but I wasn't very impactful. So I thought I would change the nation, but I didn't make much of an impact. So I thought I would change just my town. Then I thought maybe I'll just change my family. And then I recognized the only thing I had control over changing was myself. And as the years went by, I understood that indeed, if I had been successful in changing myself more, then I could have changed my family. And my family could have changed my town. And my town could have changed the country. And maybe then our country could have changed the world. The place to begin is with ourselves. That's why, first and foremost, Rosh Hashanah, when we hear the sound of the shofar, it's a call to us to be taken in and to resonate for each of us individually. Another great cantor who was with us for many years, Roger Goodman, used to say, quoting Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, "Our challenge is to look up the ladder to know we could be more, and to look down to see who's beneath us to help them up." That's our challenge in coming together. And so what I hope to do throughout these next 2 days is speak about character. Character matters. There's one word for character in Yiddish. It's to be a mensch. Sei a mensch, a mother says in Yiddish to her child. Be a mensch. It's a remarkable wisdom in the Jewish tradition. Other cultures, and again, I say this only, we're in family, have many words for natural phenomenon, different words for different kinds of snow and sleet and hail. Remarkably, we have but one word to be a person of character. That's to be a mensch. And contained in that one word is a whole array of attributes of integrity, of kindness, of humility, of marking one's words as words of commitment. One word that we really don't have an equivalent of in English. At best, we have the adjective humane. So you take human and add an E. But even humane is not exactly to be a mensch. A mensch is a complement of somebody who lives up to an ideal. Mark Twain said, "You should live the kind of life that when you die, even the undertaker is sad." Which is to say that to be a mensch is to live the kind of life that connects to the people around you as a source of love, as a source of integrity, as a source of uplift. Each of us in our lives have been privileged to know people who have touched us. We say of people who are kind, that's a beautiful person. That there's some ways that those each of us have known continue to inspire us. Not necessarily to be them, for sure, not to be anyone but yourself. But when people go out of their way to be good, when people act in ways that their word you can rely on, they touch you to be that kind of kind, that kind of trustworthy, that kind of reaching out to be with others. Martin Buber, the great philosopher of Bible and Judaism, said, "Where is God found? Between two people." When two people are connected to each other and are not using each other, but simply present in that moment of being connected without an ulterior motive, their God is real. And so more than any sermon this year, what I'm promoting is to be a mensch. It says in Micah, the prophet, Higid lecha Adam, I will tell you person, human, earthling, ma tov, what is good, uma Adonai doresh mimcha, and what God seeks from you. Three things. Ki imasot mishpat, to do justly. V'ahavat chesed, to love kindness. V'hatznei lechet im Elohecha, and to walk humbly with your God. Just, kind, humble. This is intended to create 5 conversations. I worked really hard on it. And I had great editors, lots of people in the congregation, and fellow rabbis I admire who read it and allowed me. In the words of Louis D. Brandeis, the great justice, there's no good writing, only good rewriting. This has been rewritten several times. In order to get it, the price is right, you have to make a commitment to have 5 conversations during the next 5 months with just one other person or a group of people. It might be that Friday night meal you have as a family once a month. And most of the conversations focus in on who are your mitzvah heroes, who are your models of being just, kind, walking humbly with God. I have about 10 or 12 of my heroes described, and of course there are many more. There are many more who are in this room who I don't write about. So to get this, tomorrow they'll be available or after services. You simply have to say, we agree to host. And then I give you as many books as you want, thanks to Barbara and Joe Boehm who underwrote this, so that you can have these 5 conversations. The closing story of Rabbi Israel Salanter. It is said that this time of year at Slichot, which we held just a week ago on Saturday, he was going to synagogue when he noticed that his shoes were torn. He couldn't walk comfortably in them, and even though it was night, it was late at night, he thought in his small town, maybe he can find a cobbler, maybe he can find somebody to fix his shoes. And as he walked, he saw a light. And sure enough, it was the shop of a cobbler. And he walked in and he said, as he saw this man hunched over a candle, he said, "Do you think you might fix my shoes? Is it not too late?" And he said, "It's never too late as long as the candle is burning." And after his shoe was fixed, he ran to synagogue and he began to preach. As long as the candle is burning, it can still be fixed. It says in Proverbs, Nishmat Adam Ner Adonai, the soul of a person is the candle of God. Ribono Shalom, Master of the universe, tomorrow we hear the sound of the shofar, calling us to celebrate being together as a community, awakening us to reflect on our lives, to feel the gratitude of all the goodness, of the privilege of living in this time and this place, and living in relationships with our family and in this community. May we feel gratitude, but more, may we be mindful that the reason we have tomorrow is to be better than today. For to be a mensch is not a place that you arrive. It's rather a goal. May we refine ourselves, beginning with this, the new year. Amen. Our service is almost over, but there are a few closing prayers. As we turn, what page, Hal? Page 24, as we rise for Hal to recite Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam morei peri agafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol am v'romamanu mikol lashon v'kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava et yom hazikaron hazeh yom teruah mikra kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim ki hivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim udvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad baruch atah Adonai melech kol haaretz mikadesh Yisrael v'yom hazikaron Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higianu v'azman hazeh.
We remain standing, page 25, Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל הממונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. הכתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו May be seated except those observing a yurtzeit or who are in mourning. As on page 26 we honor our loved ones. If you're observing a yurtzeit and would like to share the name and the relationship, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We honor our loved ones together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, b'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, and ba'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevarach le'olam omel maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudsha barichu, li'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran bioma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. O say shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Our President, Mark Golden.
Thank you, Rabbi. I want to welcome everyone and wish you all a Shana Tova, a good year. Thank you, Rabbi Spitz and Hal Hurwitz, for preparing and leading this inspiring service this evening. Tomorrow, first day of Rosh Hashanah, main service is in the sanctuary beginning at 8 a.m. Family services with Carl Cedar begin at 9 a.m. in the Family Life Center. Junior congregation for grades K through 5, also with Carl Cedar, begin at 10:30 in the Family Life Center. Tashlich will be with tomorrow afternoon with Rabbi Spitz at Tustin Ranch Golf Course at 5:15. And then Mincha Ma'ariv services will begin at CBI at 6:30. On behalf of my family, myself, and the board, I wish all of you a happy, healthy, and sweet new year. L'Shana Tova U'Meteka.
Page 27 is Psalm 27. It's the psalm recited beginning with the month leading up to tonight, toward the end of Sukkot Hoshana Rabbah. We read together in English, page 27. Adonai is my light and my help. Whom shall I fear? Adonai is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I dread? When evil people assail me to devour my flesh, it is they, my enemies, and those who besiege me, who stumble and fall. Should an armed camp be arrayed against me, my heart would show no fear. Should they war against me, of this I would be sure. One thing I ask of Adonai, this I seek, to dwell in the house of God all the days of my life, to behold God's beauty and visit in God's sanctuary. For God to hide me in God's sukkah on the calamitous day, for God to enfold me in the secret recesses of God's tent, I would be raised up in a protecting fort. Now I raise my head above the enemies that surround me.
Miles to God's tent. Praise to Adonai. Adonai, hear my voice as I cry out. Be gracious to me and answer me.
It is of you of whom my heart said, seek my face. It is your presence that I seek, Adonai. Do not hide your face from me. Do not act angrily toward me. You have always been my help. Do not forsake me. Do not abandon me, my God, my deliverer. Though my father and mother abandon me, Adonai will gather me in. Show me your way, Adonai, and lead me on a straight path, despite those arrayed against me. Do not hand me over to the grasp of those who besiege me, for false witnesses and those who seek ill have risen against me. If only I could trust that I would see God's goodness in the land of the living. Place your hope in Adonai. Be strong, take courage, and place your hope in Adonai.
Lulei hamanti, lirot betuv Adonai be'eretz chayim, Kaveh el Adonai, chazak v'yametz libecha, v'kaveh el Adonai.
Tonight, our service will conclude with Carl Cedar singing a greeting of a new year that he sang a week ago Friday as part of Shabbat Under the Stars. The third Friday of the month, Carl Cedar leads services. During the summer, it's been outside, followed by a potluck dinner. Synagogue provides the entree. Congregants provide salads and dessert. Now that we're shifting post-high holidays, it will be Friday night under the chandeliers for the third Friday of the month. But it was so beautiful the way he concluded. We asked him to conclude tonight. At the end of service, if people would like to take home one of these books or a group of these books, I have a list here. We have 51 groups so far, which makes me very happy, but not everybody's been given the opportunity to commit to 5 conversations with just one other person or a group of people, and then you'll get the books, and I will put your name on a sticker. They'll be available after services tomorrow. Carl gets the last word, so this is my opportunity to say thank you to Hal Hurwitz. As I was going over the pages to prepare for High Holidays, I said to Hal, I could hear his voice, and I really liked what I was hearing. It's always a treat for me to share High Holidays with Hal and the steadiness and the voice that will be supplemented tomorrow by a number of singers who either grew up at Temple Beth Emet and were influenced by Cantor Medel or were students of those who were. To all, a blessing for each of us of a year of growth and goodness, a year of health and happy memory making. Amen.
May this be a year of love and kindness. May strangers come to be friends. May truth and compassion always guide us. Amen. May this be a year of hope and healing for all of those in need. May all of our deeds be a blessing. Amen. A chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer. May this be a year of selfless giving. May this be a year of peace. And may we forgive and be forgiven. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer. Sing this with me. A new year, a good year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a new year, a chance to bring us closer. A chance to bring us closer. Closer to the ones we love. world that we can be proud of. As long as there are stars above, there comes a new year. Let us all say, Shana Tova, everyone.
Shana Tova Matuka, a good and sweet year to all.